Hey, it's Nguyet. I'm in my 20s and have been really struggling with the idea of deep rest for most of my life. On most days, you find me like this, working at my 9 to 5. But today is a special day since I get to take a day off and do whatever I like. Like many others, I think about work most of the time, and with so much information about what we should do with our time, I feel that when we have time to rest, we often don't know what to do with that time to fully rest and enjoy the moment. So, on this day off, let's take some time off work with me and reflect together on what a good rest feels like. I headed out to Atchison Ramen in Chinatown that day for some yummy ramen for lunch. What's your favorite place in Toronto to get ramen? I've been in Canada for a while now and have been to Toronto many times and now living here, but Atchison is still my favorite spot in the city. The flavorful but not too salty broth and the white bowl, I noticed that it also has the cute logo of the Atchison girl. It's so cute. And that's one of the first things that I realized about a good rest as well, when it allows you to be present and notice things that you didn't before. After a delicious lunch, I headed to T&T Supermarket, which is one of my favorite places in the city, and I didn't realize that they have so many Vietnamese food stocked up, like this tamarind paste and chinsu sauces, and also bánh pía. I didn't get much at T&T, but I went to another supermarket to get this giant watermelon. So let's head home and talk about resting some more. Alright, now that we're back home, I actually feel like in the day, two of the most stressful moments for me is when I'm about to head out and when I just arrived back home. I think it's because I immediately think about the things that I need to unpack, whether it's the food that I just bought, whether it's my lunch that day. You get the idea. I don't know why I'm so stressed about these small things. Maybe it's just physical clutters that really annoy me, but it's something that I'm also trying to be better at and remind myself that, girl, just calm down. These little things like cleaning clutters, taking the groceries out, they will all be done in the end. And I don't need to stress clean them all at once. But back to this watermelon, it was so sweet and so crunchy. And for the most part, I would say it's an 8.5 out of 10. But there are some parts of the watermelon where it still has that styrofoamy texture, if you know what I mean. But it's okay. I'm not too picky with watermelon and still really enjoyed it. Later on that day, I made some simple beef and mushroom stir fry to go with rice for dinner. And whenever I'm stuck on what sauces or marinade to make, I always just eyeball a mix of soy sauce, some sugar or maple syrup, pepper, chili powder or paprika, and whatever I feel like that day, whether it's some fried spice powder or garlic powder. I would say that I enjoy cooking, but it can definitely go both ways in terms of stress inducing or stress relieving, depending on if I'm focusing on the task at hand, like cutting vegetables, waiting for the food to be cooked, or if I'm thinking about the dishes that I need to wash after. I think that I have been in overdrive for such a long time since I grew up in a very competitive environment that makes me feel like I always have to do more all the time. But isn't the productivity paradox is that the more you try to squeeze in more things and the better you are at managing your time, you end up having more work to do because now you can make time for more things? I definitely have fallen into the same trap, but I think I'm closer to finding a solution. I have been reading a book called The Good Enough Job by Simone Stolzoff, where the author questions how much work has become such a major part of our identities that when we introduce ourselves, we very quickly talk about our jobs and feel this pressure to have a cool job, a respected job, or a high income job. In his book, Simone interviewed people in different jobs, such as writers, chefs, teachers, bankers, software engineers, who all wrestle with the idea of how much work has become such a central part of their lives. And from these interviews, Simone suggests that rather than seeing work as a quest to find a dream job, it's actually better to see work for what it is, to simplify it down and see it as a part of life that brings us financial means, and that's already a good enough job, rather than something that captures all of our identities. He also mentions that doing what you love versus doing what you have to do versus not working or not being able to work at all are all noble, and they are no better or worse than each other. And even though this book was released in 2023, I swear I feel like I have read this at least 5 times, since I have never felt so seen by a book before. And I especially love how Simone emphasized that rest is not only necessary for us to be better at our work, but more importantly, it helps us to be a better friend, a better family member, and a better partner, and a better individual overall, because it gives us the time to pay attention to what we value rather than being distracted by the sound all the time. Sorry for that jump scare. I think that the antidote to this pressure to feel like we must be productive all the time is to develop different identities outside of work, which is also what Simone calls evergreen characteristics. Evergreen characteristics is just another way to call traits that we value that are not based on our external output or our achievements. For example, these traits can be valuing community, valuing nature, being a good friend, curiosity to explore new cuisines, wanting to be a good cat mom or good dog mom. Time outside of work can be a period to nurture these traits. I really value friendships, and I love to use my free time to see my friends. I also love exploring new areas in the city, and especially love finding new paths to get home when I have some spare time. My toxic trait is actually not using Google Maps in downtown Toronto, because I feel like I need to be able to figure this out and just end up wandering around the city to figure out new ways to get to places. Enjoying free time and resting are something that I'm definitely still learning, because I'm so used to equating productivity with self-worth. So it has been a real challenge to shift that mindset and to feel comfortable with being bored and not having anything work related to do. But it's so nice and so important to step away from work from time to time to remind myself of what truly matters to me, that I like my work, but I also want to make time for myself, to call my family, hang out with my loved ones, and truly enjoy moments that matters the most. It actually took me so long to open these footages and edit this video. I just went through a period of a lot of stress and chaos, so editing a video talking about rest feels so mismatched with reality when I felt so restless about many things in the past few months. But in the process of revisiting these footages, I feel grateful to myself for filming these moments so that I can remember how much I enjoyed that day off, just eating a lot of good food and going around the city. It also reminds me that one of my other evergreen characteristics is curiosity to try new things, including learning how to edit a video and document my life in a meaningful way with my friend on this channel. Also, I know that our first episode of this channel was in Vietnamese, but I really wanted to try out English this time to see how it would be received, as I think the idea of struggling with rest and feeling like we need to be productive all the time is something very universal. So I hope that my message and reminder to rest would reach more people. So we're still thinking about what languages to use moving forward, maybe a mix of both Viet and English. So let us know. And what about you? How do you rest, and what does a good rest feel like to you? I hope that you spend some time to calm your mind, and see you again in the next video.